Spidey senses. Underway post-break. Donovan for three. Lead one in the first. Keep posted on that. Meanwhile, no joking around about what the Nuggets have done this year. They're down at Big D and showing some so far. The Joker with touch. As we bring you inside our studios, it is a Friday night live edition of Game Time here in the ATL. Casey Stern, Karan Butler, Dante Jones. Good to have you with us, gentlemen. Happy weekend. The crunch, the home stretch-ish. The playoff takes a little while, so it's sort of the home stretch.
It's the best part of the year.
Yeah, I agree.
Everybody have to be playing their best basketball going into the second part of the season, and then going into the new season, obviously the playoffs. So this is the best part of the year. When
you get out of the All-Star break, I always wonder, because you check out, right? You got to detox from all. There's a lot of stress being an athlete. How do you motivate yourself? Because we all hate vacations, because when you get on that plane, it seems like even if it's a week, right? It's been like 2 days. People at home, what is it like? First practice, Dante, getting back first game. How tough is that, shake off that rust?
I don't say it's tough, because you just got a vacation and you got a chance to relax and to get your thoughts together, take care of your body a little bit, and then you come back and you refresh to play some basketball, because you know you have a finite set of games to get ready before the playoffs.
By the way, you get somebody to put these pocket square game, like these, both of you.
Yeah, man, yeah.
I know, Karan, I mean, you don't mess around. I mean, I just,
Pocket square is on point.
Come on, man.
You got to have it on point. Shout out to LAV. Sammy. Shout out to Sammy. Yep.
Sign of a true gentleman.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I want to shout out to Tommy at Men's Warehouse. We got a lot to get to on the show as we reunite here at the desk, get back on set after our time in Charlotte. DeMar DeRozan, first time. Look, I thought they did a great job welcoming Dwayne Casey back, and this was special with DeRozan when he got introduced.
Yeah, so special. You know, after 9 seasons being with that organization and what he's been able to accomplish there, as you see that impressive move, one of his signature moves. Whenever you get in the paint, he always, spin around and do the 360. But, so much sweat equity in that organization, and to just get that response and receive that ovation, that was special.
I'll tell you what, it came down. We almost had. It was close to like that epic classic moment, down one, late in the game, opportunity. Look, Danny Green, a good defender. I thought he had a chance either go baseline or take the bucket. Look, I like Bertans, but flying to the right, shooting left. Man, 1 second to go, we almost had that moment. Got to take the shot there, right?
Definitely, and you got to get a shot off with the time running down, but it just is what it is sometimes with NBA basketball.
Well, 120-117. Toronto gets the win, 44th of the season. By the way, Kawhi with 25, and DeMar's old pal, All-Star Kyle Lowry, had 17. Here he is on the reunion and the win. It's kind of, as you hear from Kyle, a reminder, too, even though it's DeMar's night, of how seamless the Raptors, right, Karan, have made this all look. I understand whether you're on the staff or not, no, this is Nick Nurse's first try, right? You picking up a team to 150-plus games. You had a coach of the year get fired. You're into those shoes. Not easy. Kawhi, a new player. In addition to Danny Green, Siakam growing in minutes. How about how the Raptors have made that look so far this year? 44th win of the season.
Yeah, and winning 14 of 15 home games, coming into this one. And the development, which you touched on, Casey, of Siakam.
Yeah.
I felt like that was the reason why trades happen. Sometimes trades happen because you don't have what you need on the roster, and sometimes it's because the rapid development of who you have on the roster, and that's what happened with Siakam. And then you go get a guy that you could play off of in the half court, one of the best passing big men in basketball, in Gasol, and you incorporate him into the fabric of what you have in place. That's special.
You mentioned Gasol. This is a conversation, Dante, I think we'll have really throughout the course of this night and certainly the next few weeks. We didn't really get a chance to let the trade simmer. You went right into the break, right? So now we're kind of really watching for the first time. When you're trying to figure out Gasol minutes, Ibaka, what rotations to use, guys, for teams like the Raptors who know they're going to the playoffs, how important are these games, not just in the standings, but also for more important, regardless of seeding, making sure you understand who needs to be where, what roles each guy has to fill heading into the postseason.
Right. Chemistry is just as big as your seeding going in, and you want to be trending in the upper direction going into the playoffs, playing your best basketball, but you also have some key pieces that you have to find minutes for and have to find roles for, and you have to make this thing work going down the stretch. I think Marc Gasol and Jeremy Lin are two guys that you got to find a role for really, really fast, and that's the hardest part of his job going down the stretch.
You know, from the Spurs standpoint, Marcus Aldridge, all-star. DeMar DeRozan right on that cusp. You and I went through the rosters, could have been there, but wasn't there. This team has had almost like 6 chapters because it looked like they were falling off. Then they kind of got their own footing, but still really no true point guard. They've dealt with a lot of injuries. How about what Pop has done? It seems like every year we're asking this, but how about the job he's done again this season with this group?
He's an unbelievable coach, remarkable with getting the most out of, 1, the system, and then 2, the talent which you have at hand. Losing Murray, that was a devastating blow early in the season. Other guys stepping up in a major way. And now you're seeing Rudy Gay, you're seeing Aldridge, who I felt like is a perennial all-star and should be first, second team All-NBA as well, just because his consistency. So I think that he's done a remarkable job keeping those guys in line and holding them accountable, and that's why they're playing excellent basketball.
All right, late games we've talked about. Got 2 teams who really in the West. One surged last year and has the easiest schedule in the West second half, and that's in Utah. And then you got Denver, who, Dante, it's interesting because they really kind of, to me, somewhat mirror Toronto a year ago. In the conference in the East last year, Toronto was a #1 seed. Nobody really gave them any credit because it was, oh, well, LeBron's in there. Denver's flirted with the #1 seed. Nobody's really giving them credit because not only Golden State, but we're waiting for Houston, or what about the defense of Oklahoma City? When you look at the Nuggets and Mike Malone, who's been great, Coach of the Year candidate, Coach of the All-Star team, how much of a threat are they really in the West?
They scare me a little bit because you have a great coach, you have a young core, but no real playoff experience. And you have Isaiah Thomas, who's coming back trying to get in the mix, and he's your only guy with some real playoff experience and some real time in the trenches. So the playoffs is a big stage to be on. You have to be playing your best basketball. You have to be ready for the intensity and the physicality of the playoffs. And I don't know if they're going to be ready when those lights come on because it's something that you can't really tell people about. You have to be a part of it.
And for Karan, for Jokic specifically, just to kind of follow on that, we saw him. Look, he has had. There are so many MVP kind of seasons that won't get credit. Paul George is one I think of immediately. Jokic has really been as valuable as almost anyone, not named. Pressure on
a common part of your offense for the last few years.
Is this one of the more satisfying nights for you?
No, it's not. I wasn't out there with him. That's a little man on your shoulder? Is that little man on your shoulder?
Yeah, that's the bad side, too.
We're on the same page.
Yo, you got some deals in my bag, bro.
Kyle, this was one of my best interviews. Thank you.
And helping me and helping our whole team. If you play 2 games and you add 1, that means
3 games.
Yeah, but you said 1 and 3.
If we win,
1 for 3. 1 for 3. 1 for 3 or
yeah,
1 and 2?
That's what I meant.
1 for 3. Oh, 1 for 3.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
USC, baby.
I ain't even go to college that night. With my aggressiveness, came out 37 points, you know. That's always great, just being able to come somewhere new.
I thought I was your lawyer.
Speak to my lawyer.
Go ahead.
A lot of players talk about the game slowing down for them, I guess, as they elevate their game.
Yeah, I'm like Neo now. Oh. Yo, that was good. That was good. Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. That's Morpheus.
Two guys obviously like each other, and the fans in Toronto love DeMar DeRozan, and he's expressed his affection for them as well. No indication he wanted to play anywhere else, and everybody there, and of course DeRozan himself was shocked when the trade went down over the summer. Going to be a huge ovation tonight.
I think so, because this is a superstar that wanted to stay in Toronto, and obviously throughout the years when I played, a lot of guys, when you heard you got traded to Toronto, they weren't excited. You have a player, B. Wood and Matt, that really wanted to be there. But I will say this is the first time in a long time I've saw individually it's worked for both players. You know, the headline players in the trade, and also team-wise. I don't think the Spurs obviously is not as good as the Raptors as far as record, But this has helped. I think he's expanded his game. They're 10-1 when he had 9 or more assists. You couldn't have told me watching DeRozan, not that he was a selfish player, but he would be able to facilitate and get double-digit assists in the way he's been passing the basketball and still being able to score. I think it's worked out for both players.
Yeah, this is the rare trade that works out for both teams. Kawhi Leonard obviously didn't want to be a Spur anymore. The Spurs were able to move on from their franchise player, get another player that's in that same element. He's not as good as Kawhi, but he's in the same area. They were able to get an all-star back. Spurs playing good basketball, struggled early on, so it works. It's been working for them because they're playing better now. But more importantly, Toronto stayed on the same path that they were on. They're going for it. Kawhi is definitely an upgrade over DeMar, but we won't know how much of an upgrade until the playoffs because the Toronto Raptors will be judged on what they do in the playoffs. If they make it to the NBA Finals or win the NBA Finals and re-sign Kawhi, this trade will be deemed as a success. If they do not make it to the NBA Finals, well, then a lot of people will be looking at why did we trade DeMar DeRozan?
Eastern Conference Finals not a success, you think?
They made it to the Eastern Conference Finals before.
Yeah.
When you trade the best player probably in Toronto Raptors history, DeMar DeRozan, when you get rid of the best coach in Toronto Raptors history, now you're looking at making significant strides forward and doing things that haven't been done in Toronto's history. They've done the Eastern Conference Finals. For this year to be a success after trading DeMar DeRozan, has to be NBA Finals.
I totally agree, and I think obviously it's going to be really tough if you don't get the Eastern Conference Finals and you lose Kawhi.
Right.
That could be very tough for the Toronto Raptors organization.
And yet I would still argue it was the right move to make last summer because it feels like they had plateaued, and I think that's probably where their minds were at as well.
It's different, though, because you felt like you plateaued when LeBron...
In the LeBron era.
When LeBron was in the East.
That's what I say.
Now that LeBron was gone, there's no telling how far that team could have been. We'll never know. And Lowry and DeRozan, they were a very formidable team, a very formidable duo, and best of friends, as you can see in that clip. Those guys had a lot of fun together.
And with all the high-end competition in the Eastern Conference, as you said, there's just no way to know if that team would have been good enough to get out of the East anyway. All right, later on... Very different reception tonight for DeMar DeRozan than Kawhi Leonard received when he returned to San Antonio, that's for sure. Huge ovation north of the border as DeRozan returned to Toronto for the first time as a visiting player tonight after spending 9 seasons, 4 of them as an All-Star with the Toronto Raptors.
Man, that had to feel good, B-Will. That had to feel good for DeMar DeRozan.
Yeah, that feel great. I mean, coming back to Toronto, getting that type of ovation, and it always feels good as a player when you get that love and the fan, and you know that the fans really appreciate what you did.
Hey, Monday night's a doubleheader. 76ers, Pelicans, Mavericks, Clippers. Coverage starts at 7:30 Eastern time.
Young guns, Smitty.
Tonight, those Pelicans are in Indianapolis.
Who's got next?
Here's New Orleans head coach Alvin Gentry.
Coach, you finally get Elfrid Payton back after a month. What does your starting lineup look like tonight, and how does Elfrid fit in that?
Well, he's going to start. We'll just have to see how it goes. You know, he's been out a long time, but he's worked really hard to get back in. I think, you know, obviously it's going to take a little bit of time for him to get the timing and everything back, but we're happy to have him back. He had a really good practice, much more explosive than he's been in the past, and I felt like he played, you know, the level that he did before he got himself hurt. So we're excited to have him back.
So even better than the first return from injury?
Yeah, it is. I think the first return, he was still a little reluctant and just didn't play, you know, didn't trust it, as a matter of fact. And I think he feels really good about it now, and I think you'll see him be more the alpha that we saw at the start of the season.
Do you have a minute goal in mind, or do you just have to feel that out as you
He's not going to be, I mean, 20, 25 is going to be the most that he'll play, you know. He's not going to come back and put him in a position where he's going to be a, you know, 30, 35-minute guy. I don't think we want to do that yet.
What's Darius' status for tonight?
He won't play tonight. You know, he won't play tonight.
Is it possible that he could play tomorrow, or is it?
We're thinking that he'll probably be able to go tomorrow, but tonight I don't think he's going. And I'll talk to you about that. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Each one? I know you said he's either going to play tonight or tomorrow.
Each one to play tonight. Yeah.
Does it help that Danny came out and kind of gave everybody a plan? It kind of eases things up a little bit.
Well, I think what we did, collectively we sat down, you know, with Mrs. B and Dennis and Mickey and, you know, Danny, and we just really talked about, you know, the vision that we have for the rest of the year and what we see is best for the franchise and, you know, the direction that we want to try to go and the things that we want to try to evaluate. And so I think to have that out in front of us is the best thing. It curbs a lot of questions that you would have, you know, from the media. I wish I could keep a straight face when I said that. I really do.
You're talking about Jim, right? That's what you're talking about Jim. It's all Jim.
But no, really, in all seriousness, it gives us an opportunity to let everyone knows what we're trying to do going forward.
And how much does that help you that you can kind of just get back to focusing on basketball, not have to worry about all that?
It helps a lot, Will. It really does, because you know, the bottom line is that we have 23 games left to play, and you know, there's a lot of things that we can get out of it from the standpoint of being able to move forward and evaluate some guys, like we said, and put them in situations where we want to see them, and it's going to be important minutes. It's not going to be like mop-up minutes or anything, so I think that's good.
How would you describe their attitude, their spirit, after having gone through a very difficult time?
I think, you know, the thing with these guys that, you know, and especially, you know, I got to give Drew a lot of credit. I think he's been unbelievable in this situation. You know, his main focus has been, you know, playing and trying to put us in a position to be good. So that's not really easy to do considering the situation and what is going on, but you know, Drew's been unbelievable, and I think the other guys have kind of followed suit. I mean, obviously initially it's kind of a, you know, a shock trying to figure out how we're going to, you know, how you're going to navigate this whole thing and everything, but I think right now the guys are trying to get back into position where, hey, let's just play basketball and see what happens from there.
And we talk about the young guys a lot, but how important is it going to be for these final 23 games to evaluate guys like Julius, Alfred, Darius, guys who could potentially go into free agency this summer?
And same thing there. You know, I mean, we want to look at those guys and see where they fit in and, you know, see what's going to happen in those situations too. So we want to be competitive as heck, and we have been, where we play extremely hard, and we want to, you know, try to win games. But obviously, the big picture is that we got to make sure that we get to the point where we accomplish what we set out to when we had the meetings last week, and that, you know, to make sure that we're evaluating and you know, so that we have decisions that we can make, you know, at the end of the season.
Alvin Gentry's media scrum should include one of those 15-foot-long poles, because he is walking the tightrope, right? Just trying to stay right in the middle of that. We're going to be competitive, but everybody knows what's going on, and it's fascinating and sort of uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's definitely uncomfortable for Alvin. It's unfair for him, the whole team. They've been put in a very tough situation. They've been dealt a hell of a hand. Team that was competing for the playoffs, had some promise starting out early in the season, scoring a lot of points. And then 10 days before the All-Star break, things change, and now he has to answer all these questions. And he knows that nobody really cares if Elfrid Payton is playing tonight. No disrespect to Elfrid Payton, but everything really, all the media is sitting there trying to really get to what's going to happen with Anthony Davis moving forward. I mean, are you guys going to play him? What are you going to do? And you know me, Smitty. I'm as petty can get. I couldn't be the GM for the Pelicans.
Why not?
I couldn't even be Alvin. Because the way I handle the situation, I would force the league's hand. I would simply, every time they forced me to play Anthony Davis, when the jump ball went up, I let him jump ball. First time the ball stopped, he's out for the rest of the game. And we're going to see how long, I would see how long they want to keep playing that. But I'm that petty type of person. You know?
Dale's gone now. He was the GM.
I was going to say, he couldn't be the GM either, apparently.
Did I say Dale?
No, you didn't say Dale.
Okay.
You said GM or coach. You didn't say.
If I was the GM, well, I might be able to be the GM then. Danny Ferry's interim, so he might need some help. Mm-hmm. Tell Danny to call me. That's what I do.
Well, and I look at the Pelicans. Since the trade request, they're shooting a better percentage from the field, shooting a better percentage from the three. Also, defensive field goal percentage is better. but they're 10-13 since the trade request. So I will say Alvin has done a good job, not because of just Anthony Davis, but like Elfrid Payton's been out. No Mirotic, he's been out before he was traded. They've had a lot of injuries. Etuan Moore has been out.
That's been all season.
The one guy I would say we don't give enough credit to, Drew Holiday, even though they don't have a good record, has been a fantastic pro on and off the court where he's handled things and kind of kept this ship together on the floor. They still haven't been good, but they have been competitive. And you're right, this is tough for Alvin Gentry. You know, everything B. Wood said it best. We just want to hear what's going on with Anthony Davis.
Right.
How's he going to play? And it's interesting how they're going to play him down the stretch. Because a minute restriction, what's the difference with playing in 1 minute, like what B. Wood said, versus playing 20 minutes?
I'm telling you, I wouldn't play him.
That's what we're supposedly he's going to play 20 to 25 minutes. Again, he's coming off an injury. He only played 5 minutes at the All-Star game. But the owner, Gail Benson, has said she wants to compete, quote, at a high level for the remainder of the season. And if you're trying to compete at a high level, you're putting one of the world's best players on the floor for significant minutes, right? I mean, that's what that means to me.
First jump ball, he'd be out if I was here.
That's not competing at a high level.
Listen, if they want to compete at the high level, they need to get a high draft pick. That's what they need to do. If they need to want to compete at a high level, they need to lose some games so they can get that kid who just busted out of his Nikes.
So you said tanking. So you said tanking.
No, it's not called tanking. It's called.
What's a different term now?
Yes, because
it's the new term. I can't keep it.
It's not tanking. What you're doing is you're evaluating your young talent. You're evaluating your young talent in competitive basketball games.
Sitting the elite talent.
You're evaluating young talent.
You look like Alvin and talking like Alvin. You can't keep a straight face while you're talking.
You're evaluating young talent in a competitive manner that you hope you don't win the games.
Now we need to
evaluating talent. Okay.
Now we need to give you one of those 15 polls.
Hey, listen, man.
You can't even keep a straight face.
I know how to waffle a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Pacers 6-5 since Victor Oladipo went down for the season, and they'll be without Miles Turner tonight. He's out with a hip injury as they take on